Briefcase Crimes contains graphic descriptions of violent events, loud dog noises, and very bad jokes, and is not suitable for all audiences. Listener discretion is advised. Welcome, listeners, to Briefcase Crimes.
I'm Hannah, and I'm full of terrifying facts about horrific events.
I'm Liz, and I'm full of morbid curiosity.
Elizabeth.
Hannah.
Every week when I edit, I am like, gosh, that space, like that time between the intro and me saying Elizabeth gets longer and longer.
I know.
Every week. Today is quite a day so far. As we're recording. It's the inauguration day.
Mm-hmm. Which I slept through.
Liz literally slept through it and then texted me and was like, do you want to record after? And I was like, after what? And she was like, the inauguration. I was like, girl, it's done.
Well, because I was in bed and I immediately pulled up YouTube to go to like YouTube Live. And stuff was happening, but it was like a weird interim, so I couldn't tell like if they were preparing for the inauguration, like what was going on. Clearly, I didn't Google what time it was happening, so I didn't know.
You were like, what did I miss? I was sleeping, and I was like, oh, here are all the things that happened in the inauguration. You missed Bernie wore mittens, Garth Brooks sang Amazing Grace. It was really weird. And she was like, okay, yeah, let's record after. And I was like, this is after.
And my next question was, did Lady Gaga already sing the national anthem? And Hannah was like, I don't know, I tuned in late. So if you missed it, I did too. So I didn't know.
So here's a thing.
Which she did a fantastic job, by the way.
She did. Here is a thing that I have seen other people talk about, and it also happened to me. It was scheduled to start at noon. Mm-hmm. It was scheduled to start at noon. So, like, I missed him actually getting sworn in.
Oh.
Because Ryan, it started at, like, 11:50.
I wonder if they did that on purpose because of all the unrest.
But they punked me. They straight up punked me. Ryan was like, well, we have a new president. I was like, not till noon. And he was like, no, it's done. They just swore in. And he's like, he's getting ready to do a speech. And I was like, oh, my God. Yeah. I'm sitting here watching a video essay about B-movie.
By the time I had tuned in, they were inside and they're like walking through the hall. I'm assuming the halls of Congress. I'm not sure. Mm-hmm. And they were like giving gifts to everybody, and it was super cute because one of the people who like presented a gift referred to Kamala Harris's husband as the second gentleman, which was really
that's
sweet.
What he's called now.
I know, but it's just so cute. And
it's unprecedented. It's very strange.
It's lovely. We officially have lived the last American day without a female vice president. First of all. And because not enough people talk about this, she's also Asian.
Yeah, she's a woman of color.
Yeah, she is Black and Asian, which is fantastic, but I digress. So I'm watching them proceed through Congress, and they're giving them these gifts, and I'm looking at Dr. Jill Biden, and this lady, her poor feet must have been killing her, because I could just tell she was, like, hobbling. I was like, you poor woman, I feel that pain.
When I tuned in, he was about to get up to give his speech. Okay. And Dr. Jill was sitting behind him. And she, like, I don't remember if they said, like, the president is about to get up and give his speech or whatever, but she, like, reached forward and, like, kind of massaged his shoulders. Aww. But she was in that teal thing with the same colored gloves, and it was just her hands, and I was like, why does she look like the Onceler from the Lorax?
Oh, no.
Like, that's all I could think about. Was that, and then as he was giving his speech and the wind was blowing his cobwebs hair.
Oh, yeah.
His hair that looks like cobwebs.
Yeah.
He's ancient.
Yeah. So then I just went and I just Googled Lady Gaga's performance because I wanted to see it. Mm-hmm. And then I went to the post office because that's my morning.
And before
afternoon.
Well, We've had a very weird
I know.
sleep schedule the last couple days.
It's bad. I just ended up calling off work. I've been getting migraines. It's just, it is what it is.
We both need Jesus or a physician.
Yeah.
We also were discussing, we don't normally do this much, like, chat and housekeeping at the beginning, but, like, whatever, this is our show.
Yeah.
We were discussing, because Elizabeth has watched, but I have not, the Night Stalker show on Netflix. It's a
series. So it's 4 episodes. They're about an hour long each. And we turned it on 2 nights ago, and Scott promptly fell asleep. So I watched the full first episode, and he snored through it. So then last night, we always eat dinner in the living room and, like, watch something. And so we were like, I actually want to watch this series. Like, let's turn it back on. So we had started over because he fell asleep, like, 3 minutes in. And... oops, we watched all 4 episodes. It was really good.
The other night when I couldn't sleep, I was like, why not? I'll start 1,000-Pound Sisters. And then the next thing I know, I'm like, okay, next episode. And it's like, there is no more. That's it. And I was like, excuse me?
Yeah. But I had told Scott, I was like, because we started it 2 nights ago. And then the next day... I had been seeing stuff on Facebook about it, and people were complaining because they thought it was, like, too graphic. And I'm like,
I've seen that.
It's a show about a violent serial killer. Like, what do you expect?
What exactly were they arguing was too graphic? Were they, like, showing crime scene photos? Were they just, like, talking about the nature of the crime?
There were crime scene photos. There were some photos of deceased victims. Now, they did censor some things out, like they censored their faces. I'm sure there's no way they showed, like, they did not show the most violent images. But there were crime scene photos, lots of photos of blood. Like I said, photos of victims, like certain victims had, like, things written on them and stuff. So, like, they would show the actual victim with the writing. Well,
maybe the people that were like, it's so graphic, maybe they were thinking, like, this is going to be like a Forensic Files or something like that. But with Netflix, they don't have there's no regulation there. There's
exactly. Now, there was no nudity. So any victims who may have been nude, because if you don't know, the Night Stalker did rape victims. There was no nudity. They did censor out anything like that. But just, like, a lot of blood. You know, they didn't show anyone, like, disfigured. So there were some victims who were assaulted badly enough that, you know, their heads would be crushed, things like that. They didn't show anything like that.
Was it more gruesome or less gruesome than your favorite scene of Midsommar?
Honestly, far less.
I figured. Like, there is a scene in Midsommar where people jump off a cliff and you, like, see it.
Like, the bones breaking.
Yeah, Liz was not here for it. I thought she was gonna, like, sink into my couch.
I don't know. It's just too, I'm not, like, a squeamish person.
Yeah.
But the action of it happening, like, I could look at a photo of the aftermath, but the action itself just,
I don't know if you remember this, but when I worked at the Ryan's home. She's downstairs. When I worked at the sub shop, I worked with 2 guys who loved wrestling, and they would always make me watch these compilations of, like, the worst injuries in professional wrestling.
Ooh, no.
And they were normally fine, like, I don't care. But there was one where this guy, I don't remember the wrestler's name, but this guy's wearing, like, thigh-high leather boots. You know, like, we stand that look. But he's wearing these, like, thigh-high leather boots, and he jumps off of, like, the turnbuckle or whatever, and kicks a guy in the face. But as he kicks him in the face, his leg breaks. Ooh. And it looked like you just held up a boot and it, like, flopped over. Oh, it was the worst. It was the worst. Yeah. And, like, you know, I'm also not squeamish. I was a biology minor and dissected many a thing.
Yeah.
And had no issue with that. But, like, just that made me go, like, blah.
Bones breaking is just surreal.
Mm-hmm.
Especially those, like, serious breaks.
Yes. I keep looking at myself in, like, my viewfinder, and I have such bad, like, Mitch McConnell neck.
No, you don't. Nobody.
It's getting there.
Nobody could have Mitch
feel like
McConnell neck like
I'm
Mitch
gonna
McConnell.
have a second neck, or a second chin peeking out from under my mask.
No.
Well, the problem is I have a double chin, but I also have no chin.
Yeah.
So,
I feel you.
I get this intense Mitch McConnell neck. Do you want to talk about murder?
Yeah. Eventually.
Now that we've had this, like, intro, let's talk murder.
Yeah.
This case I heard about for the very first time on My Favorite Murder years ago.
Okay.
And then I went home and I, like, watched a bunch of stuff about it, and I was, like, borderline obsessed with it for some reason. And I remember talking to my mom about this, like, bringing this up to my mom. And this was one of those cases where my mom would be like, why are you telling me this? And then what happened? Like, she does not get true crime at all. She does not get the obsession with it or the looking into it or anything. And she, one time recently, I was at work and I was shelving books and I was like, hey, do you read Anne Perry books?
Yeah.
Mother. And she was like, no, why should I? And I was like, I just wondered because, like, my mom loves Christmas books.
Mm-hmm.
Like, every year she gets the Richard Paul Evans Christmas book that comes out. Like, she loves books that are like the Christmas gift, the Christmas prince, the Christmas tree, the Christmas box. Like, all those books she loves.
Yeah.
So I was like, maybe my mom reads Anne Perry. And she said she didn't and was like, should I? And I was like, well, she has a lot of Christmas books, so I thought maybe you would. Also, she's a murderer. and then she was like, what? And I started kind of, like, telling her about it, but saving a lot of the details because my mom doesn't like that. And then my mom texted me back and was like, they hit her 48 times. Like, she was looking into it. And I was like, we have a podcast episode about this lady.
Yeah.
So, Mom, if you're listening, hello. Welcome to the pod, Tam. Yeah, but I remember sitting at the kitchen table at my parents' house telling my mom about this and her being like, stop telling me this. Yeah. And then what happened?
Yeah.
But today we are going to talk about Diane Downs.
Okay.
Very exciting.
Let me get my notepad ready here.
I figured I would do a case that I know a lot about and that I find interesting, I guess, because my brain hurts.
That's okay.
I talked about this on social media, but I have not been feeling well. Yeah. So I needed kind of
flare.
I'm having a very serious flare. A flare that is like, if I get COVID, will we know? Mm-hmm. Like, I can't tell the difference between what I have and if I, like, should I get tested? I don't know what's going on. I don't go anywhere. I don't know what's happening.
Yeah.
Anyway.
My favorite has been getting the daily temperature reports from you.
My
and
thermometer
having to be like, Hannah,
so
that's
insane.
okay.
Well, no, because it's the fact that my thermometer is just like, it has to be on the fritz. Like, something is wrong.
I'm telling you, gotta replace the battery.
Yeah, probably. It's not that old, though. Anyway.
Yeah.
I digress. We're going to begin on the night of Thursday, May 19th, 1983.
Ooh, the 80s.
The 80s. My parents were in 11th grade.
I think mine would have been in 10th. I don't know.
My parents either graduated in 83 or 84. I think 84.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Whatever. No, it had to have been 83 because I got married in 84, and then my sister came in 85. Never mind. They were graduating. They were gearing up to graduate. Mm-hmm. All the way across the country in Springfield, Oregon, the staff at McKenzie-Willamette Hospital how do I want to say this? Basically, the staff at McKenzie-Willamette Hospital are doing their thing. It's the night crew. It's 10:48, I think. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden, a red Nissan with Arizona plates comes like careening in to the emergency drop-off.
Okay.
The driver is honking their horn and screaming, and people come running out, and there is a woman who is driving the car, and she yells, "Somebody just shot my kids."
Ooh.
What a way to begin.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So they rush out, they get the kids, and they find 8-year-old Christie, 7-year-old Cheryl Ann, and 3-year-old Diane Downs in this car. The woman's name is Diane Downs. Mm-hmm. She's blonde, she's in her 20s, and she has been shot in the left arm.
Okay.
So they start sort of triaging and like figuring out what's going on.
Yeah.
7-year-old Cheryl was dead when Diane got to the hospital. Christie and Danny were clinging to life.
Oof.
Yes.
Jeez.
They took them into the hospital and started to immediately put them into surgery and try to basically stabilize them.
Yeah.
So immediately, because she yelled, "Somebody just shot my kids," they had called the police, as was like standard procedure, right?
Yeah, I would hope.
Yes. When you come running in and are like, "A crime has been committed," the hospital staff usually is like, "We should get the police."
Right.
So police get there and they start talking to Diane because she's the only person who can tell them what happened.
Right. The only person conscious at this point.
Yeah. Yeah. The only person who hasn't suffered a wound, like, serious enough to put her out of commission, basically.
Right.
So she tells the police that she and her family went to Maricola, Oregon, to visit her coworker.
Okay.
She said that one of her coworkers had been talking about wanting to buy a horse. And so she had found like a newspaper ad or something that had said basically something about horse rentals or something.
Okay.
And I found this part really weird. So she said that her coworker had been talking about wanting to buy a horse. She found this thing about horse rentals, and she didn't call the coworker because they weren't good enough friends for her to have her number. That's what I read.
Yeah.
So instead, she put all 3 of her kids in the car and drove to this woman's house.
That's weird.
It's very weird, but it's
weird.
also one of those things that, like, it was the 80s. So, like, maybe that was something people did?
I don't know. I don't like uninvited guests. Like,
I don't either, but maybe it was more, like, of the culture.
I don't know. Like, just, I don't know. She didn't have her number, but, like, couldn't you call somebody who did have her number?
Or just wait until, like,
Monday?
You are working together again? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it was Thursday.
Ugh. Yeah, but, that's weird.
So Diane was a mail carrier. She worked for the postal service. So maybe, like, they didn't see each other routinely. They just saw each other, like, I don't know. Very weird to me, but
yeah, that's
like
sketchy.
The least. It was just dumb. Plus, like, if you're thinking about buying a horse, like, thanks for the horse rental information.
Yeah.
I want to own it, Diane.
Yeah. Was it maybe, like, stable rental?
What I saw was horse rentals.
Okay, that's weird. Yeah, I don't know.
It was super weird. Regardless, she said she went to this person's house, had, like, a brief conversation. She said she put all her kids in the car because it was a way to, like, get them out of the house for the time being. Plus, like, they're children, so like you can't just leave them alone.
Right.
And then she decided on the way back that she would take like the scenic route back.
Okay.
And go sightseeing. She took her kids out to be sightseeing.
Sure.
At 10:30 at night.
Oh.
That was.
And it's like, May, so it's not like, oh, let's look at the Christmas lights or something like that.
Yeah. And it's not even, and it's May. Like, I was thinking when I first heard this that maybe they were, like, looking at the leaves or something. No. But, like, it's May, and it's 10:30 at night.
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah. So she tells them that she takes the scenic route. She takes the scenic route home when a bushy-haired stranger waves her down, and so she pulls over.
Okay.
In the middle of nowhere.
Yep.
With 3 kids in the car.
Vulnerable children.
Yeah. My parents always told me.
I know what you're going to say.
There is nothing that you can do that is going to help that person.
No.
When you are alone.
No.
Like, don't stop for someone when you're alone. You're not going to help that person.
Yeah.
Like, you're not going to be of help.
Right.
It's just dangerous.
Yep.
Don't do that.
I know one time back, this was more the 90s, not the 80s, but before cell phones were common, people had those bag phones.
Mm-hmm.
And I know one time Judy and Scott were together, and Scott would have been a child, so I think, like, this still applies, like, the same. Yeah. There's nothing you can do for them. And they stopped. Of course, this is rural West Virginia, so, like, it's not like a city or anything. But they stopped because somebody was on the side of the road, and they were able to help because they had a bag phone. Like, they were able to call.
Even now, though, with, like, having a cell phone, my parents are always like, you aren't going to be of any help.
No.
Like, don't stop for people. You aren't going to help them.
I mean,
You're just going to get murdered.
I'd stop for a child.
Yeah.
But not for a grown man.
See, the other thing is, like, my parents are always like, I don't know why you're so obsessed with true crime. I don't know why you're so anxious. And it was like my whole life, they just prepared me to get murdered.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
My whole life, like, I remember I wanted so bad. I wanted a, like, a backpack with my name on it, or, like, a license plate for my bike with my name on it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, my parents were like, absolutely not. That's how you get stolen. They were like, somebody's like, hey, Han, and you're like, yo, you know my name, and they're like, no, idiot, you have a license plate on your bike. Also, my thing was, I live in the literal middle of nowhere, where I will be riding my bike outside of our home, surrounded by cornfourne's. Yeah. Who's going to see my license plate on my bike?
We had them, but we exclusively rode in our backyard.
Yeah, no. Nope.
And you know what that backyard looked like. Like, you couldn't see into the yard.
But I just don't get why my parents are like, I don't know why you're so anxious. And it's like, maybe because you were preparing me to get murdered my whole life. Yeah. Or not to get murdered, I guess. This is why I am the way I am.
What are you going to do?
Exactly. So she pulls over for this bushy-haired stranger.
Nope.
And winds down her window. And he immediately demands that she give him the car. She's getting carjacked.
Drive away.
Yes. Well, I think this is like part that I don't know exactly. I think she got out of the car. I can't remember. And I didn't find a lot about it. Well, you'll see. So, you've already seen the title of this episode.
I just see her name.
All right. So, take of that what you will. Whatever. That could mean anything.
I know.
So, she told police that he demanded her car, so she pretended to throw her keys into a nearby bush. Okay. And that this is when he just went mental.
Ooh.
And he shot the children.
Okay.
He shot, one of the kids was in the passenger seat.
Okay.
Which, they're all under 10.
It was the 80s, though.
The 80s is alive and well.
Yeah.
He shot he fired 5 times, basically, and shot all 3 children. 2 in the back, 1 in the front seat. Then He shot her. She got shot in the arm trying to, like, fight him.
Okay.
Before she was able to drive off. And then he fled on foot.
Okay.
Is what she says.
Mm-hmm. I'm already skeptical of her.
Yes. So, not only that, not only this story is what she told, but also she had, like, this gunshot, right?
Yeah.
And she also had, like, a few small injuries on her arm.
Sure, like defensive wounds.
She said was from trying to fight the bushy-haired stranger.
Right.
But she was also, like, weirdly calm. Like, she was very just, like, in control of her senses.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, calm, cool and collected.
Like, not how a mother would be if one of their children was dead and the other two were in emergency surgery to save their lives.
Yeah. So, like, this is the part where I do say that, like, everyone processes trauma in their own way, and there's no one way to grieve, and there's no one way to process trauma, and, like, we need to not jump to conclusions just based on how someone is handling an event.
Right.
But basically, the police were like, okay, so you're not, like, super hurt, and you're pretty lucid, so can you come with us and point out the spot where this occurred?
Sure.
Christie and Danny were both in surgery at the time. They were getting stabilized. So, like, you could be at the hospital or you could be, you know, helping.
Right.
So she went off to help. She went out with him, the detectives. Okay, she pointed out where she had pulled over, and it was like this sort of, like, rural area. Mm-hmm. It was by a river and a field. It was like there was nothing there.
Yeah.
Not even, like, street lights.
But was there the supposed bush that she pretended to throw her keys into?
Well, she didn't actually throw her keys.
Well, yeah, but there would have been a bush.
Well, yeah, there was, like, a field and some bushes and stuff.
Okay.
But the point there is, like, it's the middle of the night in like, rural nowhere. This is not the kind of place where you need to be, like, pulling your car over with your 3 children.
Right.
After that, Diane went back to the hospital, and they told her that Cheryl Ann had died.
Aww.
Yes. Very upsetting. They told her Cheryl Ann had died, that Christie and Danny were in very critical condition, mm-hmm. but that they both had, like, a chance of surviving. And when speaking about Danny in particular, she said back to them, and apparently sounded, like, kind of perplexed. She said, "Do you mean the bullet missed his heart? Gee whiz."
What? Excuse me?
Gee whiz.
Okay.
Totally normal thing to say. Again, maybe she was in shock. Maybe she just, like, wasn't processing trauma the same way that we would process trauma.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. You may now go to your first slide.
Okay. Let me get over here. Okay. We've got the family. I was going to say the happy family, but...
We have a family. On the left we have Diane and the 3 children, and on the right we have Diane, the 3 children, and her ex-husband, Steve.
Okay.
So you can kind of tell who's who because you got a big girl, a medium girl, and a boy.
Right.
Big girl is Christie. Medium girl is Cheryl Ann. She is the one that died when they arrived at the hospital. And the littlest one is Danny.
Okay.
And that's old Diane herself. Old Diane. Also, then you can go to the next slide here as well. Sure. This is Diane in her sling and her cast because she had been shot in the arm, so she wore this cast for a while.
Right.
So there she is.
I can
this will be shortly after.
Okay.
The incident. So the detectives that talked to her at the hospital were also, like, just really perplexed by how she was acting.
Yeah.
Yeah, they basically were like, this lady's entire family has just been shot.
Yeah.
And she's, like, really just sort of, like, chill.
Yeah, I mean, really chill.
Yeah. They started looking at the evidence in the case. Obviously, they have, basically your crime scene is the car.
Right.
They determined that the bullets were .22 caliber. My one source says shot from either a handgun or a rifle.
Okay.
Those are the options. Those are the only options. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, you mean the shooter didn't just throw them quickly?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, not only did they know that they were .22 caliber, but they had determined that the gun would have had to have been shot at a close proximity to the kids, based on, like, powder burns and things.
That makes sense.
And basically, yeah, and the way that, like, the blood was distributed through the car.
Mm-hmm.
They knew that the gun had been fired from the left side of the car, the driver's side, which that's what Diane said, was that the bushy-haired stranger did reach through the window to shoot all three of the kids.
Uh-huh.
Because he was already there. So that's not a lot of information. That's not, like, anything that you can find anyone based on.
Yeah.
Without a murder weapon,
right.
Bullets are not very helpful.
Right.
So they started looking into Diane. They found her employer. They, like, started digging through all that. They found she was recently divorced. Mm-hmm. She was originally from Arizona. She had divorced her husband, or her husband had divorced her. There had been a divorce. Mm-hmm. And so she had taken the kids and moved to Oregon, rather. She was from Arizona. Okay. She'd taken the kids and moved to Oregon because that's where her parents lived.
Okay, sure.
She moved to be closer to them.
Here's a question. I might be getting ahead of you. Okay. But did they talk to her coworker whose home she supposedly went to? Like, did she actually go?
They did, yes.
Okay.
They did. I think we'll talk about that a little bit later, but, like, it's not really that exciting. Like, okay. Yes, she did go. She, in fact, did go there and spoke with her. Her name was, it doesn't matter, but her name was Heather. Oh, she has a weird last name. Plord.
Okay.
Heather Plord. And she did agree that, yes, Diane and the kids came over to speak with them about horse rentals.
Right.
Such a weird thing.
I know.
Yeah. So she rehashed to the police that, like, what all had happened. She said, we ate a quick dinner, then we went over to Heather's, gave her the newspaper ad about the horse rentals, and then we went, I figured we would go sightseeing. I would cut through Old Mohawk Road and go sightseeing. Okay. She said, as she turned onto Old Mohawk Road, she saw a white man in his late 20s, about 5'9", 150 to 170 pounds, dark hair with a shag wavy cut and a stubble of beard. Mm-hmm. He wore a Levi jacket and an off-colored t-shirt. Okay. I am so bad at, like, this person was this tall and this heavy. Like, I would be useless. I would be like, he was, like, normal size. Right. Like, I have no... Like, I'm not a circus performer. I'm not guessing people's weights. Right. I don't know how anybody does that.
I don't know either.
So, yeah, she rehashes, basically, everything that had happened. So, the police are, like, suspicious of this story, as we all are. Yes. And they're still, like, okay, we're not gonna, like, decide anything because, like, first of all, the woman's kids are dead. Mm-hmm. So, like, you gotta be really sure before you're like, I think you killed your kids.
Yeah.
Like, you gotta know for a fact.
Right.
Another thing that police noticed was weird was that her arm injury, she had been shot once in the arm and it went through and split her radius.
Oof.
In, like, it broke her arm, basically.
Yeah.
And the detectives on the case were like, you know, that's a really similar place, like a similar placement as to, like, other cases that we've seen where people have shot themselves to make it look like they'd been shot.
Right.
But still, they were like, there's not enough evidence. Like, that's weird, but it could just be a coincidence.
Yeah, but it's definitely suspicious.
For sure suspicious. Like, I don't think there's anything wrong with being suspicious about this case.
No. That's good, because I'm very sus.
Okay. Just continue to be suspicious. It's fine. So they asked Diane if they could go search her house. Sure. And she said, that's fine. She did tell them, I do own a .38 caliber pistol, which I keep for protection. Mm-hmm. I'm a male person. It's a dangerous business. Apparently. She's like a rural male person too, so I imagine she's like the kind that does it out of their car.
Possibly.
Yeah, I don't think she was like driving a mail van. Yeah. She also said that there was a .22 caliber rifle that she kept at home. Mm-hmm. For like home security, as is her Second Amendment right to do so. Oh, this dog is crying.
I know. I can just hear her ever so lightly. It's like not real loud. But...
So, they found them there. They were both like unused. They weren't, one of them was in her car and the other was like on a shelf and it was all dusty and weird. Mm-hmm. Like she didn't use them. Now comes some more suspicion.
All right.
Like you're just gonna get more suspicious.
I'm ready.
So Christie was out of surgery. She was fairly stable. Mm-hmm. And Diane would sit by her side in the hospital. Mm-hmm. And she would hold her hand and she would tell her, I love you. Okay. And all the nurses say that this was like not a warm I love you. Not a loving I love you. Not a my child that has just died that I love so much. Okay. I'm so glad you're alive. I love you. This was just like a going through the motions. I love you. Ew. According to the nurses.
I can't. Oh. Okay. I don't even know what that would sound like. Like I can't even.
I love you. I don't know. I don't know.
I imagine it's like, I love you.
I don't think she like heavily sighed.
I know.
But I think it just sounded like she was like, God, I love you. Fine.
Yeah. But it was like a show. Like it wasn't sincere. Yes.
Paul Alton, who was one of the investigators, said that he would, he said he happened, this is a quote directly from him, quote, I happened to glance at the heart rate monitor, the pulse, when Diane came in. The scope showed Christie's heart rate beating 104 pulses a minute. But when Diane took hold of her, the scope jumped to 147. Oh. That could mean anything.
Yeah. I know what I think it means, though.
Be really excited to see her mom.
Yeah, I'm sure it's excited. That's definitely it.
She definitely wasn't running marathons at this point. It wasn't exertion. She had just lost a ton of blood. So they did another sweep. They went out and talked to the Plord family, Heather and her husband. That's such a weird last name. Yeah. And they did say that, yes, Diane came and visited. And that, yes, it was to give her the ad about horses. Right. Surely she was like, I barely talked to this woman.
I mean, they talked enough for her to know that she was looking at buying a horse.
Maybe she was just a Libra and just like overshared.
Maybe.
But this is gonna be me. I'm gonna have some coworker arrive at my home and be like, "So I heard."
We're not gonna talk right now about coworkers arriving at your home.
Oof. Yeah.
Miss Libra.
Listen, when you overshare, that's how you get weird stalkers.
Yup.
Should we just tell that story?
If you feel comfortable.
I mean, long story short, I had a former coworker who was very interested in me and wrote me a letter to my home, which was not disconcerting at all.
Yeah. Yup.
Not terrifying in any way, shape, or form.
Yep.
Yeah, well, that's all in the past.
Yeah.
Now, I don't go to work because the library's been flooded, so...
Yeah. I told my one coworker about that, and I was just like, I can't even imagine, and, like, her face. Because, like, what happened at your work with the flood is just so incredibly stressful.
Yeah.
Like, we were like, oh my god, if that happened here, blah, blah, blah. No. That'd be a bad time.
In addition to, like, the second wave of investigation, they went back to her house, and they found a diary that she had.
Okay. We love a diary.
We love a diary. They found, the rifle and the handgun again. They found a box of shells. And they found this photograph on top of the TV. She had, like, all these pictures on top of the TV, because that was back when TVs were thick enough that you could put pictures on top of them.
Yeah.
There's, like, all these different pictures, and there was this one picture of this guy who wasn't, like, a family member or anything.
Uh-huh.
And when they asked around about it, they found out that this was a man who was a former boyfriend of Diane.
Okay.
Who lived in Arizona. And that this man is somebody that she called not long after arriving at the hospital.
Okay.
Before she knew, like, if her kids were okay, before she called Steve to let him know that, like, our children have been shot.
Yeah.
And one of them is dead. None of that. She called none of her family, none of that. She called this guy from Arizona.
Okay.
So they started looking into, like, who this guy was, too.
Yeah.
Oh, one important thing that I didn't mention is the lead investigator of this case is named Dick Tracy.
Oh, good.
Like, unironically, that is just his name.
Sure.
So, I just forgot to mention that his name was Dick Tracy. So now we enter another man that is going to be important. Mm-hmm. It is not her boyfriend. It is, if you go to your next slide, this is the only freaking picture I could find of this man.
Okay.
His name is Fred Hughey, and he was on the district attorney's staff at the time. So he immediately felt like something was wrong here.
Yeah.
That
no
this
kidding.
was not normal.
Yeah.
He started talking. He was, like, kind of new to the DA's, like, office, I guess. But he immediately was like, this is weird. This is wrong. He starts talking to the different investigators. He talks to Paul Alton, who saw Christie's heart rate go up and stuff. And he's like, this is really weird. I want to put around-the-clock guard on these children. I want them to be protected because they might also be in danger. He was like, I want a child psychologist to come and be with Christie the whole time. Because she needs to trust somebody. She's going to talk. If somebody's going to talk, it's going to be Christie. Because Christie was 8. She was the oldest. Danny was only 3. So, like, he could talk, but
yeah,
he wasn't, like, she was 8 years old.
Yeah.
So he's like, we'll get a child psychologist or a psychiatrist. They'll sit with Christie. They'll build up this trust, and eventually that's who she'll talk to.
Yeah, for sure.
A smart guy.
Yeah, so far the only smart guy.
Well, I mean, the other ones are trying, and they definitely are suspicious as well, but they have, they're following the letter of the law.
Yeah.
Doug Welch, who also worked on this case, he called Steve Downs, the father.
Okay.
Of the children, Diane's ex-husband.
Okay.
And he starts to interview He starts to interview Steve.
Yeah.
And he asks Steve a bunch of questions. One of them being, does Diane own a gun?
Uh-huh.
And Steve said yes. She owns a .38 caliber handgun, a .22 caliber rifle, and a .22 caliber handgun.
Oh. That's one more gun.
That's
than was mentioned before.
Too many guns.
Yeah.
This is too many guns for Diane's story.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. You are exactly on the right track.
Mm-hmm.
This is like not a case where it's like, oh, Detective Liz, you're so savvy.
It's like, wow, you have deductive reasoning.
Yeah, you critical
like
thinking
a first grade
skills.
level.
Yeah. So, Steve basically was like, I'm glad that I'm not married to Diane anymore. Our marriage was really rocky. Mm-hmm. She was very promiscuous. She would like sleep with a lot of different people. Mm-hmm. He was like, whatever. Like, I'm just glad that we're we're living. I don't know if they were friends, but they were just like living their lives. He
like,
wasn't upset with her.
Amicable.
He wasn't mad that she had the kids. Like, none of that.
Right.
And he was like, I'm going to fly to Oregon to be with my kids.
Right.
Then,
makes sense.
Exactly. Then Welch was like, do you know who her former boyfriend was? This guy that's, that she called and has on her TV and all of that. Mm-hmm. And Steve was like, yeah, Diane had been having an affair with this married guy.
Oof.
Not when they were together, but the affair would be on his end, I guess. But
yeah.
Basically, he was like, this guy also works for the post office. I guess they were like, I don't know how much knowledge he had about this, but apparently quite a lot. I don't know. He basically told them, like, they were dating, they were having their thing, and then he went back to his wife.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Just everything
Don't commit
about
adultery.
It. Yeah.
Like, just don't. Don't mess with married men. Don't cheat on your spouse.
Don't assume that anyone's going to leave their spouse for you.
And why would you want them to? I've talked about this before on the podcast. I just never understood the mentality of, like, he's cheating on his wife with you, and you want to become his wife.
Right. It doesn't
make sense. Yeah. So then Detective Welch said, would your ex-wife harm your kids, do you think, in order to get her boyfriend back?
Sure.
And Steve said, no way. Quote, she loves those kids.
Okay.
Then they went and talked to Diane. And they were like, hello, too many guns.
Yeah.
What's this about these guns? This
Excuse
gun
me,
that you...
ma'am.
Yes. Do you have the time to talk about...
guns.
These guns?
These one many guns?
Do you have time to talk about these guns? Title contender.
Title, yeah.
And Diane was still like, no, I don't own a .22 handgun. At this point, Diane started being featured in the media.
Okay.
Like, a lot. She was in all of these interviews. And everybody started to notice that she was acting really weird in these interviews.
Sure.
If you go to your next slide.
Okie dokie.
This is a screenshot from one of these interviews, the one that bothers me the most.
Okay.
Actually. You can see she's got her sling. This is not long after the incident has happened. And basically the interview in question here, they're showing her to they're asking her to show them basically act out what happened.
Okay.
And you can see in this picture that I have here, she's like grinning.
Like big grin, like cheesing.
So the link that I have here is to basically like all of the media interviews she did. I only want you to watch the first 2 clips.
Okay.
Because otherwise I think we'll be here for like 30 minutes. But I do want you to watch those.
Okay. She's an Elizabeth.
Yes, that is her actual first name.
Okay, so she's like waving at the camera, was that?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think at one point in this she like bumps her cast and is like, "Oh, my cast." Oh.
Also, that was super delayed.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, let me say that without the audio like playing in the background.
That's okay.
For the mic.
She did actually break her arm.
Yeah, but still, she's so playing it up because yes, she did hit her cast in the video, but her saying like, "Oh," because she's saying it like she's in pain. Her saying like, "Oh, I just hit my cast," is delayed with her actually having hit the cast.
And she's like giggling.
Yeah.
It's like unsettling.
Yeah. Okay.
It's unsettling at best.
Let me resume this.
Anyway, you can be done there. I just wanted you to like see it with your eyeballs.
Yeah,
because you to understand how out of place it is.
We just got a message.
On what?
On our Facebook or Instagram, maybe. We just got our first fan message.
From what? Where?
Hold on.
Who is
do you
this?
See it?
I do. Hold on.
Sorry, not to like.
No, that's okay. Oh my god! They requested a case.
Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness. Aww.
Oh my god. I'm very excited.
And we got it on audio recording.
We did.
Oh, she's so sweet. So first of all, shout out to Yvette.
Yes, Yvette, we just got your message.
Thank you so much. This is really wonderful to hear from you.
That really made my day. And
yes.
I love getting requests for things, which we never do. This is our very first request from a listener.
Normally it's just me and my brother.
Yes. I am very excited. I've never heard of this case. I'm not going to say which case it is yet. I'll talk more about this specific request when we do this case.
I'm shaking.
But I've never heard of this case, so I am very excited. Hi, Yvette.
Oh, that was lovely. What wonderful
That's very exciting. Okay, so Diane is saying she doesn't own this gun that we know she owns.
Of course she's saying that.
Yeah, because it fits her story. Oh, that's right. So she's in the media at this point.
Yes.
She is lapping up this media attention. She's loving it. And here's the other thing. It was the early 80s.
Yeah.
She was pretty. She was blonde.
Oh.
What?
I'm just anticipating.
She was pretty. She was blonde. And her name was Diane. So the media started calling her Lady Di.
Ew. Ugh. How dare.
Yeah.
How dare they?
True story. Ryan and I have been watching Whose Line Is It Anyway, but the UK version because it's the only one that's free.
Uh-huh.
It's free on Amazon, and it's basically the same.
Yeah.
But the season that we're watching was filmed in 1998, and they were talking about Princess Di in the, like, living present tense.
Oof.
And it was really weird.
Yeah, I bet.
It was just like, oh, I looked at Ryan and I was like, not dead yet.
Oh.
She was alive. Very weird.
There's a whole conspiracy theory that she's not dead.
She's dead.
I know, but I'm just saying. There's a conspiracy theory that obviously the queen didn't want her around anymore, and so they faked her death, and she moved to Canada, and that's why the boys go to Canada semi-regularly, because they were visiting their mom.
If you have ever seen the princes discuss their mother and her death, she is not dead. Or she is dead.
Yeah.
She is dead. Those are children who have lost their mother.
Yeah. But, like, that whole...
They go to Canada semi-regularly because it's like they own it. You know?
They're, like, major allies still.
Yeah. She's on their money. Like, when your grandma is on the country's money... Yeah. You go there.
I'm just saying.
It's also a beautiful country.
It is. I wish I could go
to Canada. So many reasons to go to Canada, except besides the fact that your mom faked her death and is there.
I wish, because I have a lot of family in Canada, but I'm not very close with them, and I so wish I was more close to them. First of all, because they're wonderful people. Mm-hmm. Like, they literally give the shirt off their back to you. They're so sweet. But then also, because I would have a place to stay in Toronto.
I've never been... I've been in Canadian waters. I've never been in Canada.
We'll have to go once COVID is over. Get your passport, girlfriend.
I will. This is a true story about my mother. The one and only time I was in Canadian waters, I was on a trip visiting a friend who lives just south of Syracuse, and we went to Bolt Castle.
Okay, I've never heard of it.
When you go to Bolt Castle, you... have to go into Canadian waters to get there and whatever. Mm-hmm. And I texted my mom and I was like, I'm in Canada.
Oh no.
And my mom, the only thing my mom said back was, you don't have a passport. I was
that is so your mom.
I know. It's like classic Tam.
Yeah.
You don't have a passport. So Diane is, like, lapping up this media attention, loving the fact that she's being called Lady Di, loving all of this.
Yeah. Oh, and in the meantime,
yeah, you should. It's bad. It's bad. You should hate it. In the meantime, they're like fully investigating her at this point.
Good.
Because she is beyond suspicious now.
Yeah.
They start talking about, like, the fact that she says about the bushy-haired stranger, and that's, like, a really common term in police talk for, like, the guy that somebody made up to take their place.
Was that common, or was that something?
No, that was it. That was, like
it's the origin of that?
No.
Oh.
It's, like, she just happened to, like, use those exact words. Fred Hughie, I'm sorry if I'm saying his last name wrong, everyone. I don't know how to speak. He actually had said to someone at one point, we estimate that if the bushy-haired stranger was ever caught, the prison doors will have to be opened to let out all wrongly convicted defendants.
Oh.
Like, if they ever found this guy, everybody would get to go free because everybody says there is one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and everybody says that there is one. They're not buying this at all.
No.
They're like, it's weird that she was out there sightseeing at 10:30. It's weird that she stopped her car against all maternal instinct with her children in the car, and she's a 27-year-old woman.
Yeah.
Like, no, she's not doing that.
I'm not doing that, and I've got no maternal instinct whatsoever.
You're very maternal. You just don't want kids.
True.
You're very maternal. If it was me, Brittany, and Susan in the car, you would not stop.
No, I would be screaming. Because Brittany would want to pull over because she's so pure.
I don't think that, because I was with Brittany when she said the phrase, if the guy wants to steal my cosplay, I'm not afraid to square up.
That's different, though, because she's defending her hard work.
That's true. Not her well-being and her brain.
Yeah.
Oh, Britt.
I love her.
Yeah, Brittany would be like, let's stop. And I would be yelling, we're going to get murdered. And Susan would just be yelling at all of us.
Yeah,
to calm down.
Yes.
And the prices on the turnpike are too high.
Highway robbery.
They're raking us over the coals. This is a shakedown. She's like an old man.
Oh, I love her to death.
So they're like, okay, none of this is making sense. Also, why did the killer shoot the 3 kids and not the adult?
Yeah.
That is the clear, like, all he would have to do is shoot her once, take the car, and then he's got, like, what's an 8-year-old, a 7-year-old, and a 3-year-old gonna do against a grown man? You would just boot them out of the vehicle. You said that, like, duh.
You know what, though?
What you would do.
There was a case recently where somebody, like, ran inside a store or something, or a bank. I forget exactly what. Like, I just heard about this, like, happening last week or the week before. And they left the car running because their kid was in the car. And somebody stole the car and then did a lap and then dropped the kid off. And left again with the stolen car.
It's like that Ralphie from The Simpsons meme where he's getting just, like, booted through the window.
Mm-hmm.
Ugh. Anyway. Yeah. Lots of things aren't adding up here. And one of the other things that aren't adding up is that no bullets had gone through the body of the car.
Oh.
So they weren't shot from outside of the car. And all of the bullets had hit where they were supposed to hit, which was the kids.
Yeah.
The person didn't miss, and they didn't shoot outside of the vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
Also, they said it was really weird that there was no blood at all on the steering wheel. Which they said if Diane had been shot, which we know she had.
Yeah.
But if she had been shot before driving the car, wouldn't she have instinctively, like, put her hand on the bullet wound and been like, ye gads, gee whiz, I have been shot.
Right.
And then put her hands on the steering wheel to drive the car.
Probably.
First of all, I don't know. I feel like you shouldn't touch wounds, open wounds. But
well, but if you're trying to apply pressure.
That or, like, holy crap, I've just been shot.
Yeah.
I can't imagine being shot at all. Like, that's just not even something that my brain can process.
Yeah. Plus,
what that might feel like.
It's dark out. I could see her, like, touching it to see, is there blood?
Yeah, absolutely.
You know?
Right? But she didn't do that.
No, that's weird.
So they thought that meant that she would have had to have shot herself just before she reached the hospital.
Oh.
If she shot herself. We're still saying if at this point.
Yeah, sure.
They also knew that gunshot residue was a thing. Gunpowder residue.
Right.
They found gunpowder residue in 3 different angles in the car.
Mm-hmm.
But there were no gunpowder particles on the driver's panel where the gun would have been if somebody outside of the car was shooting into the car.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Plus, not to mention, you've got 3 people in the car, so I'm assuming, like, typical, obviously, we know there was one child in the passenger seat, and then you've got one child behind each seat. Mm-hmm. Like, the driver's seat itself would be an obstruction to shooting.
How do you shoot the one behind the passenger seat?
Yeah.
Yeah. Even the middle seat.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we know what happened.
Yeah, we do.
So they found some ejected casings around on the ground that matched ones that were in the car. And they were looking and looking and looking for the gun. Because like I said before, bullets are bullets. You can't match them to a gun. You can't match a gun to a person.
Right.
They dived in the river. They but they said that if a gun had been thrown into the river, because it was spring and because of how fast the river moved, it would have been just gone.
Yeah.
It just would have been taken. So they couldn't find anything there. They couldn't find anything in, like, the surrounding areas, in the grass, in the ditches, nothing. There was nothing there. And then Christie Downs, the oldest one, had a stroke.
Oh, no.
She survived. They think that this happened because of the amount of blood that she lost. But Christie, the one that everybody was hoping would talk, had a stroke.
Yeah.
And it was on the left side of her brain, which meant it affected her ability to speak.
Of course.
Yes. Doctors hoped, though, that because she was only 8, that they could, like, work on that with therapy and stuff.
Right.
I also didn't mention this, but Danny, the youngest one, was paralyzed.
That makes sense.
He was alive, but he was paralyzed. Couldn't find the gun. The only witness to the murder now couldn't talk. And they were like, okay, what else do we have on Diane? Because at this point, they are like, it's Diane.
Yeah.
Like, duh, it's Diane. So they start looking at her diary.
Love a diary.
We love a diary. I was just thinking the other day, if we ever made merch, we have to have one that says we love a diary.
Yeah.
Or like, we love a diary, map, estrangement.
Yeah.
Unlike, it's not like she wrote in this diary, like, May 19th, gonna kill my kids today.
Right. Unlike Julia at home.
Unlike our good friend Pauline Parker. She didn't talk about moitering her kids.
Yeah.
What she did do was she would write in this diary about her lover, this married man.
Gross.
Yes.
I don't know. I'm sure, like, I don't mean any shade by this, but especially in this context, I don't like when an adult, like, who uses the word lover, like, seriously, like that.
Well, I mean, in this context, it is her lover. But, yeah, lover, it feels weird.
Why do men get to be lovers, but women have to be mistresses?
Yeah, there is not a word for that.
Ridiculous.
There isn't one. And she was the mistress.
Yeah.
Anyway. So what she would do in this diary, is she would write letters to this man.
Okay.
Like, her diaries were in, like, letter format.
Okay.
To this guy. She is the worst. So, like, all of the writing is, like, just annoying to me.
Yeah.
So, April 21st, this is, like, apparently one passage that really stuck with Fred Hughie is his name? Yes, Fred Hughie. Now I have to check names.
That's okay.
But it said it was April 21st, so it was less than a month before the incident. And she had written in it, quote, "What happened? I'm so confused. What could she have said or done to make you act this way? I spoke to you this morning for the last time. It broke my heart to hear you say, 'Don't call or write.' I still think of you as my best friend and my only lover. And you keep telling me to go away and find somebody else. You have got to be kidding." But meanwhile, first of all, I'm not slut-shaming in any way at all.
No.
Okay? But everybody said she slept with a lot of people. So, like, your only lover? Meanwhile, that's not what's happening. So, they start looking into this guy because they're like, did he say, like, I won't be with you
because of your kids? Yeah.
Yes. They're going to look into what the heck's going on with this guy. So they send Doug Welch and Paul Outen to Arizona.
Okay.
They're like, while you're there, talk to Steve Downs again and talk to this married man, her lover. Diane's lover. Blech. So, I'm going to keep saying it because now I know it bothers you.
I know, you stink.
I'm so stinky.
I knew you were going to do that.
So, one of the first things that they did is they established an alibi for both Steve and her man friend.
Okay.
I don't know what to call him. He doesn't have a name in anything, rightfully so, because he is so adjacently, like, he didn't do anything wrong. He doesn't need his name out there.
Right.
Let's call him Bill.
Okay.
So, Steve and Bill both had alibis. People had seen them in Arizona when the murders and attempted murders were happening.
Okay.
It was not either of them. They talked to, like, former coworkers, and they were like, was she normal? Was she weird? And they were like, some people were like, she was fine, and some people were like, she was hot and cold, up and down, all over the place. She slept with a lot of people. They also said that she would sleep with men, like, a lot, like, just, like, jump into bed with people, but that she would refuse to deliver copies of Playboy to customers on her route. So it was, like, this weird...
I hate that.
It was very weird.
Yeah.
Plus, like, you can't just not give people their mail.
Yeah.
Like, if they paid for it, that's literally your job, Diane.
I feel like that should be a fireable offense if you're a mail carrier. Like, what are you gonna do?
Elizabeth.
Like, what are you gonna do? Like, oh, I'm sorry, this is against your morals. We'll hire a completely other mail carrier just to deliver the Playboys on your route.
Yeah, or just, like, I don't know what she did with them. Did she just, like, chuck them?
That's definitely a fireable offense, because that's...
Is it?
Yeah, because it's mail.
Yeah, but I know it's a federal offense to... I know it's a federal offense to open it. Is it a federal offense to just dispose of it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's tampering.
The more you know.
It's a federal offense to even touch a mailbox that isn't yours.
I've also heard that your mail carrier isn't supposed to hand you your mail.
Yes.
They're supposed to put it in the thing even if you're there.
When I was a kid, we, like, got the biggest kick out of, like, sitting on the porch and waiting for the mailman. And, like, they knew us, but I remember at one point we got a new mail carrier, and he was really sweet and apologetic about it, but he was like, I can't hand it to you. I have to put it in the box.
Yeah.
So.
You could be anyone.
Right. Right.
Okay. So they go and they talk to Bill. And he's like, first of all, he insisted that his wife be with him during this interview. He said, obviously, like, my wife knows everything. She has, like, stuck by me. She has, you know, we're just trying to, like,
move past it.
Yes. But yeah. I want her here for this. And he just, like, didn't spare any details. He was like, this is what happened. Basically, they worked together. They started an affair in 1981 after she had gotten divorced. He was like, I love my wife, but Diane was beautiful. She would come to work, like, dressed in, like, really revealing clothing. She wouldn't wear a bra. Not that that's, like, it's still not okay.
But that was part of his story that he said.
Yeah. It's still not okay with me. So he started sleeping with her, and he didn't expect it to last very long because she had had flings with, like, a bunch of other men. Like,
sure.
Everybody knew that she would, like, have these flings.
Yeah.
But it was, like, you know...
Apparently
lasting
this
for
one's
months.
Stuck.
Yeah, it was lasting for months, and he was like, I just really don't want, like, a relationship. I just want, like, a sex thing.
Yeah.
And also, he would refuse to see her if she was with Danny, Christie, and Cheryl.
That makes complete sense.
Yes, because, duh, they're children.
Yeah.
And if all you want is like a sexual relationship, there's no reason for you to be with her children.
Yeah, it would be creepy to be there. Weird.
So he had said, you know, that everything, it was continuing for forever, and also he was with her all day at work.
Right.
And then with her after hours, like, having this affair, and basically was just like, I don't want to be with her all the time.
Also super fair.
Yeah, it's like couples that work together, and I'm like, how?
Yeah.
How do you do that?
I love Scott. However, and I'm super clingy, but even
I'm very clingy as well.
I need a little bit of time. Like, a little bit.
Yeah. Well, basically, he cut it, like, he severed ties with her in February of 1983.
Okay.
Because he said, quote, Diane asked me who I loved the most, her or my wife, and I said I loved my wife.
Oof.
She blew up, she ranted and raved and screamed at me. I had never seen anyone act that way before.
Oh, boy.
Then he went home, and she followed him.
Ooh.
She pounded on the door. His wife, Bill's wife, said, quote, she pounded on our door all night long. Then she called on the phone. Then, the next morning, she confronted this man's wife out front of their house. And, quote, she began to tell me what I should do about my marriage, my relationship with my husband, everything. I slammed the door in her face.
Good.
Excellent. Good work, lady. So basically, Bill was like, okay, lady, you're nuts. I don't want anything to do with you. We're done.
Also, no wonder his wife already knew everything when she showed up at their door behaving like that.
Like, you'd have to be like,
okay,
honey,
I'm sorry.
This is my lover.
Yeah.
Yeah. So after that is when Diane put in a transfer to Oregon and took the kids and went to be closer to her parents at this point.
Which you would hope that it's because she wanted to start over and get away from him, but...
Yeah. Well, while they were there, the police asked Bill, the lover we're calling Bill, do you know about any guns that Diane has? And he said yes, and he listed off the guns, including the .22 caliber handgun.
Okay, there it is.
And so they asked Diane about it again, and she was like, I don't have a .22 caliber handgun, though, guys. You know when you just keep lying?
Yeah.
And hoping that they'll, like, believe you?
Yep.
Yeah. So at this point, because we have to get in a little bit to the trial and stuff, so I don't want to take forever. So they're looking at all of this evidence, including the stuff that they got from the boyfriend, stuff from Steve, all of that. And they're still like, we do not have enough to bring Diane to trial.
Right.
Like, maybe if the boyfriend would have said, like, I explicitly broke off everything with her because of her kids. Or something like that. But they didn't have that. And then...
Oh, boy. Don't laugh like that.
And then somebody called detectives, a witness.
Okay.
And he said, like, they started to look at the timeline based on what this witness said. So the car got to the hospital at around 10:48.
Okay.
According to Heather Plord, the friend of horse rental variety, she had left their home at 9:45.
Okay.
So detectives knew that it must have happened in that time window.
Right.
However, a witness named Joseph Inman came forward and said that he had seen a car that he believed was Diane's. This red Nissan with Arizona plates. Near 10:20 p.m., a full 28 minutes before she got to the hospital, moving very slowly, like 5 to 7 miles per hour.
Ooh.
Like, slow enough that he was like, this car is moving really slow. Along Old Mohawk Road, where she said this had happened.
Right.
He had said that the car wasn't being driven critically.
Right.
So your kids have been shot.
They're bleeding out.
They're bleeding out.
I would just like to say, a few years ago, when I cut my thumb and I needed stitches. I was obviously driving one-handed because I had cut myself on my hand.
Yes.
I still drove 90.
Yeah.
To get to the urgent care for my stitches.
Yes. And that was your thumb, not a critical wound.
Yeah.
And not your children.
Right.
Yes. So, based with all that, and this media attention that she's getting, all of that, they were like, fine. We'll arrest her. We'll take her to trial, even though we don't feel like we have enough to go on.
It's, very circumstantial. But circumstantial evidence can still win a trial or, lose a trial, depending on how you're looking at it.
If you go to your next slide.
Okay. Why is she smirking like that?
Because she's the worst.
Ugh.
Like, yeah. You know how it is when your kids are dead. And that's how you act.
Yup. Yeah. Hate it.
She's arrested. They decide they're going to take her to trial. Meanwhile, the whole time, her dad is like, she did not kill her kids. He did say, though, that if she did it, she should pay. But he doesn't believe that she did it.
If I had children and I shot them and killed them, your mother
would never talk to you again.
Never.
You'd be dead to her.
I'd be dead, period. Are you kidding me? Like, I never, ever, ever understand, like, all of these criminals whose parents are like, no, they never could have done that. Like, ever since I was a child, my parents always told me that if I pulled off a crime, they were not going to protect me. Like, I just don't understand. I really don't.
Oh, she would, absolutely. But her dad, like, to, I don't know if he's still alive, but, like, to this day, like, still supports her. Or till he died, still supported her.
That's really sad.
It is.
Sad for the children.
Basically, they took her to trial for this. I'm gonna, like, skip through this a lot. There's a lot of stuff in this.
That's okay.
But basically, what I'm going to talk about here is toward the end. They called, and they being Fred Hughey, called Christie Downs to the stand.
Okay.
The 8-year-old who had the stroke.
Okay.
He had really bonded with her. He had spent a lot of time with her, and basically everybody was like waiting to see what Christie was going to say.
Yeah.
So, he did the whole thing where, like, he told her how important it is that she tell the truth.
Yeah.
He asked her about the day of the crime. He went through everything. He talked about going to the Plourd's house, all of that.
Yeah.
And he, like, everybody talks, this is just important to me, everybody talks a lot about how during this trial he was very patient with her. He was very comforting with her, and he reassured her the whole time. And so when he made sure that she was okay, making sure that she was, like, not, like, having any sort of trauma.
Yeah. Yeah.
He asked her, what did Diane do in the car?
Yes.
And she said, quote, she leaned over the back seat and shot Danny.
Oh.
Then he asked what happened after Danny got shot. She started to cry. He hugged her. Then he said, do you remember when you got shot? And she said, yeah. He said, who shot you? And she said, my mom.
Ugh. This poor baby.
I know. So, like, at that point, how do you not find her guilty?
Yeah.
Like, you have the victim telling you.
Yeah.
One of the victims. Yeah. So, she was found guilty on June 14th, 1984. It was a unanimous verdict, obviously.
Yeah.
And so I don't know how this happened, but you know that there is one trial where you have your verdict, and then there's another trial where you have your sentencing.
Correct, yeah.
Between the verdict reading and the sentencing, like during this trial, somehow, go to your next slide.
Oh,
I'm not even going to tell you.
No.
Yes. During the trial, Diane Downs, I don't know. Diane Downs became pregnant during the trial.
She's very pregnant.
Yes. She gave birth between the verdict and the sentencing trial. She was pregnant during this trial.
What was the time frame of the trial to sentencing? Or verdict to sentencing? Like, how many months?
I'm not sure, but these pictures are like from like during her being on trial. Between the verdict and the sentencing, though, is when they were like, okay, we're gonna take a break so that you can have your child, and then we're gonna send you to prison.
Okay, so she got pregnant before she was arrested, most likely.
Maybe, yeah.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Well,
I don't know.
Well,
there's a lot
of
theories about this, too.
Here's the thing, though. Was she out free? Or, like, was she on bail? Like, or was she being held? You know what I mean? Because if she was
Yes, it was most likely, like, right before she got arrested.
Yeah. So
the theory is...
Oh, God.
The theory is that either she... This is so disgusting. So it was either that she got pregnant to garner sympathy, or
I hate it.
There are some people who think she just really liked being pregnant.
Yeah, some women do.
Which also, you just shot and killed one of your 3 children, but you shot the other 2 and maimed them forever.
Yeah.
And now you're gonna have another baby?
Yeah.
What is wrong with you? Barf. So, she was very pregnant during all of this.
Yeah.
Had her child, and then got sentenced. She was sentenced. She was found guilty of attempted murder in the first degree, guilty of second account of attempted murder in the first degree, guilty of first degree assault, and guilty of another count of first degree assault, and guilty of murder.
Okay.
Oregon didn't have the death sentence at the time, so basically they gave her a life term plus an additional 50 years.
Okay.
In the hopes that she would never, ever, ever be
walk
free.
again, yeah.
Yes. The father of this baby would not come forward and, like, have her, basically.
I wonder why.
Yeah.
Maybe you shouldn't have had sex with her in the first place.
Yeah. Well, the baby was put up for adoption. And if you go to your next slide.
Oh, wow.
Let me just real quick here. Because I knew her name.
She looks so much like her mom.
Yeah.
But, like, way prettier, though.
Oh, she's beautiful.
And she actually has, and her eyes actually look alive.
Yeah, she looks like she is living her best life. Her name is Becky Babcock.
Okay.
Becky Babcock has been on a lot of different shows. I know she's been on, like, Dr. Oz and that kind of thing. She's been on, I think she is there is a 2020 on this called My Mother's Sins. I think she's in that as well. Yeah, so she is, admitting this. She's owning this.
Yeah. I mean, what else can you do?
Yeah, that's very traumatic. If you go to your next slide.
Hold on, really?
Write her name there?
Yeah, I was just going to say. What's her first name again?
Becky
Babcock. Did I spell that right?
Yes.
Okay. Ugh.
So, yes, your next slide is Diane, because she's still alive. She currently lives in the she is in Clinton Correctional Institution in New Jersey.
Okay.
She was in Oregon Women's Correctional Center, but in 1987 she escaped.
Oh my god.
So after being recaptured, she is in Clinton Correctional Institution. And she's still alive, being denied parole constantly. And two more things. If you go to your next slide, we're zipping right through.
Mm-hmm.
Ann Roll, who is a very famous true crime writer.
Yeah.
And writes a lot of stuff about the Pacific Northwest. She wrote a book about this called Small Sacrifices. Mm-hmm. She is also the one who worked at the call center with Ted Bundy and wrote Stranger Beside Me.
Oh, wow.
She has written a lot of stuff. She is dead now. But she wrote this book called Small Sacrifices. I know a lot of people who have read it. I have not. The only Ann Roll book I've read is Stranger Beside Me. Mm-hmm. Excuse me. And then they made a movie about it. Of course. Farrah Fawcett plays Diane Downs.
Yeah.
And Ryan O'Neal is also in it. I don't know who he plays, but he is also in real life just a bad dad.
Yeah.
So I feel like he should be allowed to be in this bad parent movie.
Yeah. And
then my favorite part of this case, like, not that you can have a favorite part, but a good part of this case, I guess, is that Christie and Danny, who both survived, Danny is in a wheelchair still.
Right.
But Christie, grew up and was allegedly, like, a very content teen at the time. They, in 1986, moved into the home of their new adoptive parents.
Oh.
Fred and Joanne Hughey.
Oh.
Yeah. I don't know why they didn't go live with Steve.
Yeah, I'm confused, but I also feel like he clearly... I don't know. I feel like this is gonna come out, like, really bad. But he let her just move with the kids to a different state.
Yes.
So, I mean, I guess he just didn't care that much.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's a Matilda Miss Honey situation.
Yeah.
Where, like, whatever, like, go ahead and adopt them. Like, you care for them clearly.
Yeah.
He does, at least at the time of one of my sources, he did settle in Oregon. Mm-hmm. So he was around for them.
Well, that's good.
But I just thought it was really sweet that they adopted both of them.
Yeah, that really is.
It is. And that is the harrowing tale of Diane Downs. This is a very long episode.
That's okay.
I don't know if it's really going to be that long once we, like, cut other stuff down.
It won't. We talked a lot of tangents and pauses and stuff.
Yes. Do you have anything to say?
Yes. I am going to be harping on this, but can you really seriously imagine watching your 8-year-old granddaughter crying on the stand and still think your daughter is innocent?
No, but I mean, people are believing all kinds of things these days.
Whoa, shade.
Doesn't matter if it's happening right in front of you.
I know. Like, yes, it would be a very hard thing to come to terms with, but guess what? You gotta do it.
Let me also say this. I cut out of telling you this. I cut out her, like, early life for time. Her dad molested her when she was a child.
So he's just a garbage person.
Yeah. So, like, she said that it never got to, like, he never had sex with her.
Like it matters.
I know. But he, like, when she says about it, she said that, like, he would take her to the desert. They would, like, go on drives. And then he would have her take off her shirt and bra while he watched.
Ugh.
So, like, anything this man does is...
questionable at best.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Anything else that you'd like to say?
How dare they compare her to Princess Di? How very dare.
Yeah.
That's just...
yeah.
Blech.
It's funny, though, because they spelled it... When they talk about Princess Diana, don't they spell it Princess D-I?
Yes.
They spelled it D-I-E and everything.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's a little...
I don't know.
harrowing.
Yeah.
Wow.
Are you ready to talk about books?
Yeah. So, I have one ready to go. If you want to go
I also
first.
have one ready to go. You go ahead.
Okay.
You normally go first.
That's true, I guess. So, I haven't actually started it yet, but it's been on my to-read for a very, very long time.
Mm-hmm.
And you know how it is. I just know it's good because I just know it is. So I'm going to recommend it anyway, even though I haven't actually gotten to start it yet. But I am recommending this week The Hate U Give by Angie Thomas.
That is also on my to read. I told you earlier that I got a new Audible book. I almost got that one.
Did you?
Yes.
Yeah, it's been on my list for literally over a year.
Mm-hmm.
And I was scrolling TikTok last night and I saw like a clip of the movie and I was like, oh my God, what is that movie? And I went in the comments and saw it was that. And I was like, oh my God, I really need to read this now.
Yeah.
So that's what I am recommending this week. I can't really say very much about it because I don't know.
You'll have to give us your thoughts on it once you've read it.
I will. Let me see. Is there... Whoops. I'm looking for like a little synopsis.
I need to do that for mine too.
16-year-old Star Carter moves between two worlds, the poor neighborhood where she lives and the fancy suburban prep school she attends. The uneasy balance between these worlds is shattered when Star witnesses the fatal shooting of her childhood best friend Khalil at the hands of a police officer. Khalil was unarmed. Soon afterward, his death is a national headline. Some are calling him a thug, maybe even a drug dealer and a gangbanger. Protesters are taking to the streets in Khalil's name. Some cops and the local drug lord try to intimidate Star and her family. What everyone wants to know is what really went down that night. And the only person alive who can answer that is Star. But what Star does or does not say could upend her community. It could also endanger her life. So this was... I mean, it's always relevant. Let me put that first and foremost. This is always relevant, this police violence situation. But I know that this was being particularly brought up over the summer of 2020. But, you know, it deals with that sort of racial bias and all of that. So... hopefully I can start it soon.
It has also been on my list for a very long time.
I know. I'm like, well, and it was a bestseller. It did phenomenally well.
Made it into a movie, obviously.
Yeah, it's technically young adult fiction, I believe, but I don't think a topic like this has an age limit. So
plus, like, life's short. Read young adult fiction.
For real.
Who cares? I recommended a children's book. Yeah. I recommended juvenile fiction.
That's true.
So who cares?
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I've got this week. What about you, Han?
I am currently reading or listening to, I have this on Audible, I am listening to A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab.
Oh.
V.E. Schwab. She is a novelist. She has a lot of different stuff that's, like, really popular. But A Darker Shade of Magic is the first in a trilogy.
Okay.
I also pulled up a synopsis because I find I'm very bad at describing books.
Yeah,
for some reason.
me too.
Here is the synopsis. Kel is one of the last Antare, magicians with rare coveted ability to travel between parallel Londons, red, grey, white, and once upon a time, black. Kell was raised in Arns, Red London, and officially serves the Marish Empire as an ambassador, traveling between the frequent bloody regime changes in White London and the court of George III in the dullest of Londons, the one without any magic left to see. Unofficially, Kell is a smuggler, servicing people willing to pay for even the smallest glimpses of a world they'll never see. It's a defiant hobby with dangerous consequences, which Kell is now seeing firsthand. After an exchange goes awry, Kell escapes to Grey London and runs into Delilah Bard, a cut-purse with lofty aspirations. She first robs him, then saves him from a deadly enemy, and finally forces Kell to spirit her to another world for a proper adventure. Now perilous magic is afoot, and treachery lurks at every turn. To save all of the worlds, they'll first need to stay alive.
Ooh.
How we would never describe books is the synopsis of books. It's very good so far. The writing is very good. I'm not sure if I'm gonna read all 3 of them. We'll see, because it's not like super holding my attention. So we'll see. Yeah. But it's what I'm reading right now.
Yeah. Yep, we are. It is, like we said, today is Inauguration Day. It is January 20th at the time that we're recording this. I made a goal to read 1 book a month, and so far I am at 0 books. So
I am reading 2 books, but I've not finished any books. Yeah. And I just bought 3 books. Yeah. And this is just a fun little aside. This has nothing to do with reading, really, but Liz and I are doing a journaling thing together. We are going through a book called A Mindful Year that has 365 prompts in it to help mindfulness.
A little bit of shadow worky type of stuff.
And we figured we'd do it together because we are best friends and we do that kind of thing. Yeah. What's the point of doing it if you can't do it with your best friend?
Obviously. Yeah.
Would you like to talk about where the people can find us?
Yeah, you can find us as Briefcase Crimes across all platforms. We are on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, and YouTube. You can listen to full episodes anywhere that you listen to podcasts. And if you would like to support us monetarily, you can either buy us a coffee on ko-fi.com/briefcasecrimes, or you can purchase any of our book recommendations from our affiliate link, which is bookshop.org/briefcasecrimes. They support local bookstores by donating 75% of profits to them, and they support us through that affiliate link by giving us 10% of any profits from any book that you buy, whether it's on one of our lists or not, as long as you are using that link. So that link, as well as links to the brief and everything else that we have, are in our link tree in the description and in our bio.
Excellent. I now pretty exclusively use Bookshop.
Yeah. I mean, it's really a great alternative to Amazon.
It is, yes. It's exactly the same, model where you get online and you look for a book, and they even have books that Amazon doesn't have.
Yes.
To be honest.
How do you like their shipping, by the way?
I love it. So what'll happen is, first of all, everything has come really quick, even in the COVID times. Like I said, I just bought 3 books, and I got them, a couple days after I ordered them. It's, not bad at all. I have bought several books from Bookshop at this point.
You've done, 2-3 orders?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. But yeah, I first of all, I hate Barnes & Noble.
Yeah, me too.
Not, I just went to get a Mindful Year book, and it's they have everything set up for discovery, but if you want a book, you have to, ask for it, because I can never find it. So I love Bookshop because I know that I'm supporting small, independent businesses, especially during COVID, and I'm not putting money into Jeff Bezos' pocket.
Yeah.
So Bookshop is great.
And actually, I learned, because, I don't even remember how I found them, and they let any organization set up an affiliate. We didn't have to be invited, which was really, really fantastic, but they're a very new company. They have developed, in the COVID times. because they wanted to help these local businesses who were suffering. So, and also, Hannah, if you want to edit this for me, our bookshop link is actually bookshop.org/shop/briefcase crimes.
Okay.
Just because if you go to just /briefcase crimes, it's a 404 error.
Okay.
So, but yeah. So I really like them. It's I mean, it's really great, and I know that they have a return policy because any of our commissions, like, it gets held until the return window is, you know, over. So, you know, they're a Goodwill company, not like Goodwill the corporation, but you know.
No. Yeah, and like Liz said, it doesn't have to be anything off of our specific list. You can get any book, which is how I get books. Yeah. I just get them at whatever you want.
Yeah, and
it doesn't have to be one that we say.
We have 3 lists at present. We have the reading and recommending list. We have a list for books that are about the cases that we've talked about. And then we also just have a list of books that sound good to us. They're not things that we've necessarily read yet. But if you're just looking for something else, if you liked one of our older recommendations, you know, maybe something that is on our want to read list also sounds good to you. So you can use those lists if you want, but you don't have to. We've tested it out. You can buy anything as long as you navigate to that shop link first. And it helps.
We always say to suggest us cases, which please suggest us cases.
Yes.
But suggest us books too. What's your favorite book? Tell me a book that you like. I'll read it. I like books.
Maybe we'll
what we like.
Maybe we'll have to make a story highlight on Instagram so people can always message us a book recommendation.
That would be a good idea. We should do that for we should do 2 of them. We should do book recommendation and case recommendation.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Elizabeth.
Yeah, Hannah.
Would you like to wrap this up?
I would. Thank you guys so much for listening.
And we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.